That was the swimming pool where Jackie would say, "I hear women inside." Are women inside? Quite a famous, I'm not saying anything, this was a part of a movie. And the Secret Service said, "No, ma'am, there's no women inside, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am, you're going to have to move along. But I hear women inside." "No, ma'am, you'll have to move along, ma'am." So that was the famous swimming pool. Now it's even worse. It's for the media. They covered the pool up. And now it's for the media. And I think we have a small representative group. I don't think they allowed the rest of them. I can't believe it. What happened? They're all on the other side of the wall. Can you believe it? Because this is supposed to be sort of a private event. And there is no such thing in politics as a private event. Lindsey, you learned that a long time ago, right? The great Lindsey Graham, doing fantastic. You're up 34 points, Lindsey. That's not bad, I'll tell you. It's not bad. So we did the Presidential Walk of Fame from the great George Washington all the way to, well, I think we have to rate him above me. So less than great, less than George. Somebody went up there, they say, "You're the third best president in the United States." This was on television, third best. And they said, "Who are the first two?" George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And I got extremely angry at this man. You know, you can't. It's going to be tough to beat, Mr. Senator. It's going to be, John. It's going to be very tough to beat Washington and Lincoln, but we're going to give it a try, right? Hey, they didn't put out 8 wars, 9 coming. All right, we put out 8 wars, and the 9th is coming. Believe it or not. So I just want to say it's great to be with you. And when we're finished, later on, we're going to have a little quick lunch, and they do great food at the White House. And this is used sometimes for evening, where we've had some incredible people for the evening, and some of the big foreign leaders have been coming. And most excitingly, on the other side, you see the fence and the wall. We're building a world-class ballroom. You know, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom here. We don't have a ballroom. We have a little cocktail area, but we don't have a ballroom. The East Room, it's called, is a very small cocktail area. It holds about 88 people if it's tight. And I said, if I do this again, I'm going to get a ballroom built, and we're putting up our own money with the government is paying for nothing. You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound. Other people don't like it. I love it, Josh. I think when I hear that sound, it reminds me of money. In this case, it reminds me of lack of money because I'm paying for it, so it's the opposite. But it's going to be one of the most beautiful ballrooms anywhere in the world, and it's going to be able to take care of tremendous things. When you have, as an example, I'm going to see President Xi in 2 weeks. I'm going over to South Korea. We're going to meet in South Korea. We're going to talk about a lot of things. They want to discuss the fact that they're paying 157% tariff. It's a little higher than they thought. And we're doing very well. I think we're going to do well in that negotiation. We've done well, as you know, with Japan, with South Korea, with Europe. The European nations got together. We made a deal. And it was all based without the tariffs. You could have never made the deal. I'll tell you what, tariffs equal national security. Remember that. Tariffs equal national security. You got to remember that. And they also equal wealth for our nation, because we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars in a very friendly manner, given to us by nations that used to take it from us. And they used tariffs on us. We never used it on them because we were foolish, or we were led by people that weren't business people. But it really does. It equals national security. And I wouldn't have put out, I mentioned 8 wars, 9 coming. Of the 8, 5 were based solely on trade and tariffs. India, Pakistan were going at it. 2 nuclear powers, and serious nuclear. 7 planes shot down. They were ready to go, and I called them up. I said, you go to war, and we're not doing a trade deal. And they said, well, what does one thing have to do with the other? I said, it has a lot. You're nuclear powers, and if you do it, we're not doing a trade deal. And 24 hours later, they called me, we have decided not to do it. We stopped the war. We stopped a potential disaster, a nuclear disaster, because of trade. And it's been really amazing. But the tariffs have made us a wealthy country. They've given us tremendous defense. They've given us things that we can do for other countries, very positive. But again, really, it's national security, it's national defense, and they are so important. And it's incredible that presidents, for the most part, didn't know how to use them, when to use them. If you go back, you'll see some of the presidents that were the most successful were believers in tariffs. And I even see foreign countries now that we are doing very well with taking ads. Don't go with tariffs. They're taking ads. I saw an ad last night from Canada. If I was Canada, I'd take that same ad also. But they're actually on television taking ads. But I do believe that everybody's too smart for that. We have a very, very big and important case coming up. We should win the case based on the legal merit. We should also win the case based on all of the things I just said. But we're a wealthy country again. Last week, as you know, they found $31 billion. They came to see me. Sir, we found $31 billion. They said, we don't know why. I said, was this a good find or a bad find? It was a good find. It was a plus 31. We're used to finding negative 31s, right, for the last 30 years. I said, check the tariff shelf. Well, those tariffs haven't kicked in. Yes, they did. They kicked in 2 months ago. Check it. He comes back 2 hours later. Sir, you were right. We have an additional $31 billion, billion, not million, Lindsay, billion, that we just found from tariffs. They kicked in earlier than we thought. You were right. We're a wealthy nation again, and we're a nation that can be secure. We're a nation that can start paying down our debt. And with tariffs, we're the wealthiest nation ever in the history of the world. Without them, we've got to slog. We've got to slog. But remember this, other nations, including China, Japan, European nations, they used tariffs against us for many years. That's why we owe $37 trillion. That's why. But they used tariffs very successfully against us, and we had presidents that never fought it. But now you have a president that does fight it. So I just want to welcome you to the incredible Rose Garden. It's just an incredible place. It was done. We did it, brought it back to health. It was in very bad shape, actually, and we brought it back to health. First Lady Melania did a fantastic job on it. The surrounds and everything. It's all brand new wiring. You know, underneath there's a lot of wire, a lot of things. Everything brand new, everything beautiful. The only thing we did is we had to get a hard surface here because nobody could use it because of the grass. So I just want to welcome you, and I hope you're going to be here a lot. We're going to use it for meetings. We're going to use it for press conferences. Now we can use it. It was unusable before, and now we can use it. But everything that you see was redone. All of this was redone, and the whole White House is being redone. Some of you came through they call the Rose Hall. They call it different names, but you probably noticed. I don't know if you came through this door. Did you notice the white marble floor that was put there? That was made out of Home Depot tiles, about 1 foot by 1 foot. They were all broken, about 30 years old. And I replaced it with book-matched marble, paid for by your friend, President Trump. It's like, it's amazing how people like it when you say you paid for it. When I say I paid for it, they say, oh, I love it. But they did a beautiful job. They're great talents. They're very talented marble people I have. And they replaced it with beautiful Paradiso marble and statuary marble. And it's really, really beautiful. I want to thank the outstanding leadership team, and you really do have that. Majority Leader John Thune, who's been my friend. He really has done an amazing job. Thank you, John. Thank you. Done an amazing job. I didn't get to know John as well in the first term, and I've gotten to know him very well over the last 9 months, John, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Really great. Majority Whip John Barrasso, who's an outstanding man. Thank you, John. Thank you. Great guy, too. Conference Chair Tom Cotton. He loves that military. He loves the military. Policy Committee Chair Shelley Moore Capito. Shelley, thank you very much, Shelley. Vice Chair James Lankford. Very good. James, thank you. And, you know, we have everybody but one person here. You know, everybody showed up. I figured you'd have I'd say 40 would have been a good number, right? We have everybody. We're just missing one person. You'll never guess who that is. Let me give you, he automatically votes no on everything. He thinks it's good politics. It's really not good politics. He's an automatic no. But I don't know. Look, if he wanted to come, I'd probably let him come, right? I'd let him come. Begrudgingly, but would let him come. And National Republican Senatorial Committee Chair, an unbelievable guy, Tim Scott. You know, Tim, I shouldn't say it because it's so, I don't know if it's good or bad. But Tim ran, and he was very effective and very good. But he was on the debate stage and everything else, he was good just because he's good. But he wasn't as good as they thought he was. And when he got out of the race, he endorsed me almost immediately. And I used him as a surrogate. And I wasn't sure if I should because, you know, sometimes I want a total lunatic to get up and fight for me. And Tim is a really good person. So I wasn't sure. And I put him on the stage, and he ripped the heart out of everybody. He was so brutal. He was so unbelievable. It turned out to be absolutely one of my best surrogates, and it includes a lot of you people that were here. You were all surrogates. But Tim ripped these people apart. And after watching 2 or 3 times, then I wanted him all the time, right, Susie? I said, I want Tim Scott, get up there. But he was so good. And I said to him, Tim, when you fought for yourself, you were much different. When you fought for me, you were a tiger. You were like unstoppable. You were, really was. You all saw that. What's the difference? He said, I've never liked selling myself, and I love selling somebody that I really do believe in. I really believe in you, and I just felt that way. And it was so nice the way he expressed it. And I want to tell you, you are a champion. You are a winner, and congratulations. Thank you very much. I never love telling that story because I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad story, but I'm telling you, you are an amazing guy, and you fought for me so hard, and I really appreciate it. You got to be my #1 choice, Tim, so something happened. I appreciate it. And you're doing great doing what you're doing right now. I also want to thank the entire Senate Republican Conference for your tremendous work on confirmations. Boy, did we have a couple of weeks, huh? We had some, I signed like 150 of them, and I didn't use an auto pen, by the way. I signed. You know, when you're signing these important, like a general getting approved from 3-star to 4-star and all of these different things and big confirmations and, you know, big stuff, you really have an obligation to actually sign it, I think. You probably noticed right there, number 46 we put up, right? We put up a little bit of an auto pen. We have 46. We have 45. We have 47. It's very interesting. Yeah, 46 is an auto pen. It's up there. It stays up there. People like it. It's probably going to stay up there for a long time. It's true. And I know you're looking into that. And by the way, the auto pen person said he never spoke to Biden. He worked the auto pen. You're not allowed to do that. So if you're looking at anything, just remember it. And remember, they treated us very badly. They treated us very, very badly. So I think you're allowed to just report the truth, including the confirming of my cabinet much faster than first time. I mean, we went so fast, and I give John Thune and all of you credit for that. It was amazing. All of a sudden, I was calling John, I've got to get him approved. Come on, John, because I was getting like one every 2 weeks. And you know, I had people, they left their job, and they left everything, and it looked like they were, all of a sudden, it was like an avalanche. They walked in, James and James, my double James, I call them. They walk in, and they had like so many of them. I said, you got to be kidding. Is this like, are you for real, right, James? John Thune did his job, and you got them all done, and you have all those people out there working now, and instead of being very upset with the fact that we couldn't get them approved quickly. So I really appreciate it. You used a method that I wish you could use on U.S. attorneys. You know, I have 10 U.S. attorneys who are phenomenal. A Harvard, a Yale, a this, a that, all top. And the problem is they're not going to ever be confirmed, I guess. I put them in. They'll be there for 3 or 4 months, whatever, and then they have to leave. Because anytime you have, as you know, anytime you have a Democrat senator, not even 2, just 1, they'll say because of the time we're in, we're not approving that person. We're not approving. They never do. They won't approve. And therefore, because of blue slip, I have to tell the person after 3 months, I'm sorry, you'll have to leave. And I put somebody else in. And I've had Democrat senators say the only one we'll ever approve is a Democrat. This is not constitutional. And I hope you can look at that blue slip thing, because I have 10 people that are phenomenal, and they're going to have to leave office. Highly educated, top of their class, everything. And they're going to have a mark on their career that they were a U.S. attorney for 3 months or 4 months, and then they had to leave. And that's so unfair. It's unfair to the public, because the public voted for me in a landslide, and I'm supposed to be picking the U.S. attorneys. And this goes for judges also, but actually more so even for the U.S. attorney with the blue slip. So I have these phenomenal people, many of them young, but truly fantastic people, and they're wondering what's going to happen in another
3, 4, 5 weeks. They're going to have to leave office. I think it's a shame, and I hope you can do something about it, because I'd like to tell those people, we put you there, and you're not going to have on your resume for the rest of your life. You were there for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and you left like you got canned. So I hope you look at that. Very important. And after your pivotal changes to the Senate rules last month, as a result, this is what you did. The unprecedented obstruction by the Democrats. We've confirmed more than 175 public servants, people that are phenomenal, to keep those, and that's just been over the last couple of weeks. It's an unbelievable thing what you've done, John, all of you together. So working closely with me and House Majority, the Republican Senate also gave us the largest working class tax cut in American history. And you passed the Lincoln-Riley Act to throw illegal alien criminals out of our country. You passed the Genius Act and the Take It Down Act with the support of our wonderful First Lady. Otherwise, you got actual support from the other side. It was bipartisan.
in Congress, and I hear we're going to get it passed in Congress. And when it gets up to the Senate, I hope you guys can pass it. And basically, very simply, it says that if you're an illegal alien and you come in and you get thrown out, if you come back and get caught, you have to spend 10 years in jail. Very simple. Very simple. If they would have had that, Kate Steinle would be alive today. That was a big event at the time. If you remember, Bill O'Reilly, for those of you that like Bill, I think I like Bill, but he was the one, he devoted his life to that law, trying to get it passed. I think it's time that we pass it so that if you get taken out of the country and you come back illegally, knowing that this law is in existence, you go to jail for a 10-year period, and it's going to keep the repeat offenders from coming in. It's going to really keep them from coming in. Senate Republicans have already voted 11 times to get our government back and open for business. We have record business. We're going to be, I think, by the time I hit month number 12, I think we're going to have $20 trillion of investment. We're over 17 right now. As an example, President Biden had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We're going to have $20 trillion in less than 12 months, and we're over 17 trillion right now. So it's the largest amount in our country by far, by many times. That's in our country. But here's the one. It's the largest amount in the history of the world. There's never been a country that's had anywhere near 17, or it will be 20, and it's going up fast. A lot of it's because of tariffs, because they're coming in because they don't want to pay tariffs. In other words, they make their product in a certain country, and they used to just send it in here, and there was no charge, absolutely. Now, if they have to pay a 20%, 30%, 50%, 100%, or 2% tariff, they say, well, it's better if I build my plant in the United States. It always amazed me. I did this first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country in first term. We had COVID, and we did a good job with that. That was a curse for every country in the world. It was terrible. But we had the greatest economy we ever had. But if you remember, I started the tariffs, but I held it off because it wouldn't have exactly been good at the time to tell France, what they were going through, what Spain was going through and Italy was going through, that, by the way, we're going to charge you tariffs. But I had started the process. We were going, the country was doing good, and I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. I put the full tariffs on China. Biden left the tariffs because he couldn't. It was too much money, but they gave so many exceptions that they were essentially meaningless. In other words, here's the tariffs, but you don't have to pay if you look at somebody the wrong way. You don't have to pay. So they didn't pay very much. But with me, they were paying hundreds of billions of dollars. And again, I have a great relationship with President Xi. I expect to be able to make a good deal with him, and I want him to make a good deal for China, but it's got to be fair. For years, they were making $500, $600, $700 billion. $700 billion, and we'd be making nothing. It was a one-sided. Honestly, we built their military. We built China's military with the money that we lost for so many years getting ripped off. So now we're going to have a fair deal. I think we're going to have a very successful meeting. Certainly, there are a lot of people that are waiting for it. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe it won't happen. Things can happen where, for instance, maybe somebody will say, I don't want to meet, it's too nasty. But it's really not nasty, it's just business, and we're gonna do a good job representing you people and representing the people of our country. Unfortunately, in a craven and pointless act of partisan spite, Chuck Schumer, who I've known for a long time, and the radical left Democrats are holding the entire federal government hostage to appease the extremists in their party. And they are extreme. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. They're extreme, and you know what? We had a landslide election. We won the popular vote by a lot. We won the swing states, all 7. Remember, they said, if Trump could get 3 swing states, he'd be. And, well, I didn't get 3, I got 7. We got all 7 by a lot, by record numbers. We won the Electoral College, 312 votes. They said, it's very hard for a Republican. It's harder for a Republican, although now I think we've swapped it. I think it's now harder for a Democrat, because if you see what we've done with the Hispanics, with the black workers and black men, and recently a poll came out with black men and women were doing so well. They want security.
Are we really?
They don't want to have their city destroyed. Women in Chicago, beautiful black women walking around with red MAGA hats.
Here we go.
Because they don't want to be mugged and shot and everything else. And then you see,
is that what the black woman was saying? I haven't read that online. Black lady, please let me know in the comments.
Chicago, do you know they've had in a fairly short period of time?
Let me know in the comments, please.
4,000 murders. This is over a short period of time. 4,000 murders, and they had a holiday where they had 28 people killed and almost 100 shot. And then you listen to this guy, Pritzker. I've known the family for a long time. They threw him out because he was no good, and he became governor. He's got money through the family. He's got money through the family. But they threw him out. He became governor. I said, I wonder how he's going to do. It's a crime palace. It's a shame. And you know what we did in D.C. is unbelievable. You people, you can walk down the middle of the street, Mr. Senator. You can walk down. You can have your wife meet you at the restaurant, and she's not going to be accosted, shot, beat up, raped. It's unbelievable how bad it was. It was one of the worst in the country.
That's crazy.
It's stone cold. I don't say the
DC
word
wasn't that bad,
but it's pretty damn close.
DC
And,
wasn't that
they
bad. I
used
don't
to
know
have-
what DC Trump was living
They
in.
would average more than a murder a week in Washington, D.C. This is just before we got here, a murder a week. Think of that. The capital of, in my opinion, the capital of the world. They come from Iowa, they come from Indiana, they come from Florida. You call up the parents, I'm sorry, sir, your son has been shot and killed. We have no crime here now. We have no crime. And the National Guard has been unbelievable, the job. Unbelievable.
I hear you, Chris. I can have a lot
And
of
you know, it
commentary.
also looks better.
in my
I do a
opinion on
tour.
that too.
I hop
Go
in
on,
that
yeah.
beast. I feel very safe in the beast. The windows are this thick. But I hop in the beast and I tell the Secret Service, let's drive around town. I used to do that myself. I could drive myself around. I actually like that better. But now I don't think it's a good idea. But we drive around in the streets. The place is looking much, the grass is good, the fences are down, there's no tents, there's no anything. We are looking like it's just a whole new look. And the most important thing, there's no crime. And we're going to fix the roads. We have great pavers. We're going to fix the
time to fix the
medians in
roads.
between the roads, which are half of them are falling down. We're going to take some of the tiles off the bridges, the tunnels that you have. They've been up for 40 years. They're rotted. And we'll put up brand new, gorgeous white tiles like it's supposed to be. But this place
Can I
is
have black tiles,
looking
B?
really good. And we haven't even started
Gray?
the real fixing up of the town. We're getting rid of the graffiti. You notice there's almost no graffiti anymore. A lot of that beautiful statuary marble had red graffiti all over it, had bad signs up, and it stopped. We've
some of
taken
that
out
graffiti was bad, but some of it was
1,700
artwork for
career
real.
criminals and people that came in through an open border. They came in through Biden's open border, and we've taken them out. The thing having to do with all of the elements in the great, big, beautiful bill, I'll tell you, it's amazing.
Yeah,
what
Ken
we've
snapping
done,
in the comments.
$200 billion in
Hope you ain't talking to me, bro.
costs for medical, but we've done $50 billion for rural hospitals. And remember, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on... Think of all of these things that we've done. This is the biggest, this is the greatest bill. Social Security, no tax on overtime. But
Still gotta
no
save
tax
Grandma
on
House,
tips.
though,
I got
y'all.
that from a waitress in Nevada. I was making a speech and
Trump can say it all day, but he's not talking about the capital gains that they can get for gentrifying urban communities. Get complete write-off, so instead of having to wait 5 or 10 years to get those gains, you can get them completely off. So guess what? You got to save your grandmama house. That was also part of the big, beautiful bill. I know you may have been watching President Trump on the live stream. I appreciate you. I am the hip-hop lobbyist, a professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. Yes, a sports agent for politicians. That's really what a lobbyist is, but a lot of people don't really know. But I really do appreciate y'all tapping in. I'm going to get back to the president, and I'm going to get back to me and the rest of this stream. But thank y'all for tapping in. I'm going to get back to it.
I'm at one of my
Let's go.
restaurants in the hotel I own there, and I say, "How are you doing?" "Well, sir, it's terrible. They're
Memphis
taxing
was
my
a problem.
tips." They're going, I wouldn't have even thought that. And I looked at it, and she said to me, "Sir, there should be no tax on tips." I said, "Say it one time more." No tax on tips. I walked outside to the press. I said, "There will be no tax on tips." She was right. And we won that state by a lot. That's not a state that we win by that much, David, but we won it by a lot. So it was pretty good. But that bill is chock full of so many different things. So it was the biggest bill. I'm actually saying this to the fake news so that they maybe print it, but maybe not, because you people know. It was the biggest bill ever passed in Congress. And what we did was a little risky. We put everything into the bill, John, right? And some people were against it. They said, "No, you got to do small bites." And we gave it a shot, and we got it passed. I got a call from John. He said, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, "Sir, we have 4 hard no's. Could you please call him?" I said, "What time is it, John?" "It's 4 o'clock in the morning, sir." So I call up. One of you is sitting right here. I said, "Jim, could I say hello to you? It's 4 o'clock in the morning, right?" He said, "Sir, you have my vote." I said, "Wow." Then I called up another person. I'll use fictitious names. "Doug, could I get your vote?" "You've got it, sir." Then I called up
Just say
another one. "How about
fictitious
Josh?
names.
Could I have your vote, Josh?" Because I like Josh. And Josh, who can be very difficult, said, "Sir, you have my vote." His wife was screaming at him on the other side. "Sir, you have my vote." But I called people, And they weren't really hard-nosed. They wanted a little attention, unfortunately, at 4 in the morning. Sometimes I like the ones that don't like the attention, but we'll take it anywhere we can. And we got it passed, right, John? And nobody thought that could happen because you have a small majority. And in the how about in the House, we had a majority of 3. We actually went down after that for a period of about 2 months. We went down to a majority in the House of 1. And I kept saying, you know, because I'll tell you, Mike Johnson's great. The team, these 2 teams, did you ever see 2 people more different? One's tall, one's slightly less tall. We want to be polite. They are very different people, but they're the same in terms of talent. They did the 2 guys, and they get along incredibly well. We all do. We get along great. But we passed a bill. We don't need to pass any more bills. We got everything in that bill. There's nothing else we have to put. We got the largest tax cuts in history. We got the extension of the Trump tax cuts. We got all of these things. And, you know, remember,
Chad always stay live, man.
They lie. They will look at I saw it the other day, they were talking about, I call it the great big beautiful bill, but that's what it is, the great big beautiful, the biggest bill ever passed. And what they say, they make up stories. And I saw they were interviewing a senator, and they said, well, what's wrong with their bill? He didn't know what to say, because there's nothing he could say. It covers everything. He said, death. It brings death. Now, if I'm a regular person and I hear that, I say, oh, that's terrible. But it's just the opposite. It brings life. It brings Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. It secures all those things. And they just are so bad. You know, they said death. It was like death. And there's nothing about death. Theirs is death because they're going to lose Medicaid. They're going to lose Social Security. They're going to lose Medicare. All of those things are going to be gone because the whole country would be bankrupt, and you're not going to have any kind of medical insurance. So with us, it's the opposite. And it's a great bill. We don't need any more. And I want to just say from the beginning, our message has been very simple. We will not be extorted on this crazy plot of theirs.
Extorted by who?
They've never done this before. Nobody has. You always vote for an extension. Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats need to vote for the clean, bipartisan CR and reopen our government. It's got to be reopened right now. We're not doing that. They are the obstructionists. And the reason they're doing it is because we're doing so well. We're doing well all over the world. We're doing well with the close to $20 trillion that I just told you about. It will be that number. But even if you take it down to over 17, that's a guarantee. We're doing well with everything. Car plants are pouring back into our country. AI plants, we're leading, we're dominating China right now in AI. And I did something that I think you'd like because we have an old grid. It's a tired grid. It doesn't have the juice that you need to fire up these plants. You know, these plants will need more than double the energy we have right now for the whole country. That's how big it is. And we can't do that. There's no way we can do that. China's building right now 52 power stations. But I did something better. I'm letting everybody build their own power plant so they'll become like an electric utility in addition to AI. But if they want to build their own plant and we get their approvals within less than a month, it used to take 5 years prior to rejection. Sometimes a guy in Louisiana, they had one that took 12 years and then they got rejected. I got it approved in 2 weeks when I got into office. That was the first term.
I ain't gonna hold you. He talking bullshit today.
Now, and it's been a great thing for the state.
How much is it going to cost everything to have their own power plant?
2 of them that were dead after 12 years, and I got them approved, both of them, in less than a week. And that's what we're doing. Lee Zeldin, by the way, is doing a phenomenal job, environmental commissioner, I have to tell you. He knows that we have to get them fast, and we're getting them fast. So we're leading China in the AI race by a lot. Under Biden, Democrats voted 13 times for continuing resolutions to keep the government open. And all we want is simply to ask them to do it once again. They always voted for it. They never voted against it. Nobody votes against it. But they do that, and they do. It's partially my fault. I mean, I'm watching you, and I'm looking at all these great faces that I've seen, really great people. I think with few exceptions, a couple of you I don't like that much, but with few exceptions, great people. And you look at what they do, and you look at the game they play, and it's a horrible game. And, you know, we have the hottest country ever. This is the hottest country anywhere in the world. And I say this, I'm sure you've heard me say it, but I was over in the Middle East, and the King of Saudi Arabia and others also said essentially the same thing. They said, you know, President, a year and a half ago, your country was dead. We never thought we'd see this. And right now, you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We do. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world, which tells you about leadership, and that includes your leadership. So as you know, my door is always open to anyone. It's not like that AOC. How about her, where she said, she's talking about having rebellions and everything. She said, well, my door is always open. But she's not the leader. I'm sure the leaders felt very nicely about when she said her door is open. Who the hell wants to go into her door anyway?
That's crazy.
What the hell she's talking about. She's the one that started. You know, I remember, I'll never forget, she never took a course on the environment. And I watched her one day, and she was on television. She said, yes, our planet will be dead within 12 years. That was a long time ago. Our planet was supposed to be dead. Remember the 12-year theory? We were environmentally dead. Now, these people, they've got an agenda that nobody quite understands. The good news is they don't understand it either. They really have no idea. But the people do. The people understand.
Hey, I'm fighting with some environmentalists now. You're damn right, Trump. Fuck it.
It all adds up that we should do fantastically well in the midterm. The only thing wrong with the midterms is that statistically, when you look, a president gets elected, and for some reason, and nobody, even the great John Thune, cannot explain to me, for some reason, even if he's a reasonably good president, and we've had success like nobody, but for some reason, you lose the midterms. I don't know why. I mean, the odds are tremendously against, like 92%.
You didn't fix it that you promised, and people voted you out.
It doesn't make sense. If you have a great presidency,
so y'all gonna rig the damn election.
It only makes sense that you win the midterm. So there should be no reason for it. Somebody's going to explain. There might be some dark, deep psychological reason where they want to vote the opposite way. I don't know what it is, but
I can tell you what now. Watch them.
Otherwise, all of the things that we've done, so many of them are going to be taken away by the radical left lunatics. I mean, we're going to end up with a communist mayor in New York. Can you believe it? A communist.
We almost end up with a racist solicitor general.
We will not have a socialist elected in our country. Remember, I'd say that all the time. And I was right. We skipped socialists. We got a communist elected. So I didn't tell a lie.
The fuck?
I didn't tell a lie. I was right. We'll have a communist, not a socialist. But we've already seen the impacts of the dangerous game that they're playing. Democrats are causing delays in our air traffic control system. So important.
Yeah, Trump sounds crazy.
Have had, you know, there's Pete Buttigieg. He spent billions of dollars on fixing the air traffic control. They'd use copper wire going into glass wire. Any union electrician here or any non-union electrician would say you can't hook copper into glass. It doesn't work. They spent billions of dollars. They turned on the system, and it was stone cold blank. We're getting a brand new system. We have bids out now. We have 3 great companies bidding.
Victor, I do.
Want one bid. Sean Duffy's doing
some of the shit just doesn't make sense.
One bid. I want just
especially when you look at a lot of the fact of how I'm appalled the president to respect the fact that when he talked about every utility will be able to have their own nuclear plant. You know how much that costs? In a city-owned utility like the city I live in, they're talking about $1.5 billion over the next maybe 5 to 10 years. Who pays for that? The citizens. Now, even though we need to maintain our grids and build out our grids and improve our infrastructure and compete with AI, you have to understand that AI puts a major strain on current grids. So you expect the AI piece to happen, and a lot of these city-owned utilities, on top of investor-owned utilities, is supposed to match up and build their own nuclear plants all over the country. Not everybody wants a nuclear plant in their backyard. Honestly, a lot of people don't even want the nuclear rods. And if you knew how much was on the rail lines behind your homes every day, you'd probably be like, well, damn, how much nuclear is sitting on the train tracks? That has to go to the power plants. It's already enough out there that needs to be improved. I don't think it's feasible for every utility company to have their own nuclear generating plant. Now, will it happen? You never know. Could it? Whatever. But you're here today. Thank you for tapping in. It is your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist, tapping in live from the great state, the free state of Florida. Thank you for tapping in. Let's get back to the president. Just want to address that comment real quick as we get back to it.
They had like 1,000 contractors. Every contractor, they're all running around. In the end, if one of them does a bad job, we want to be able to blame somebody.
Yeah, hey, electricity has gone up. I'm not going to hold you on that.
There's a lot of interest in it. So the air traffic control system is going to be rebuilt. Over 1 million
I
federal
got those
workers
kind of
right
people in the
now,
chat
as you
today.
know,
Oh,
are
yes, thank
going
you.
unpaid. That's the Democrats' fault. And children, tourists, unable to visit the museums in Washington, D.C., that we now have beautiful, safe streets, but we don't have the museums open. We should probably just open them. But we are doing things that nobody's
I was thinking
ever
more for
done,
the city-owned
nobody's ever
utilities instead of
seen.
the investor-owned
So
utilities.
all of
They
this,
haven't made an
the
impact
pain
on
that
the
the Democrats
citizens.
have caused during this reckless and completely unnecessary affair, and you could call it the Schumer shutdown or the Democrat shutdown. You can call it whatever you want. And I will say this, that we have Darth Vader. You know Darth Vader, right? Darth Vader is a man who, I think he's sitting right. Is that Darth? Stand up, please, Darth Vader. Stand up. Does everybody know? They call him Darth Vader. I call him a fine man. But he's cutting Democrat priorities, and they're never going to get him back. And they've caused us, and they've really allowed
Dictated,
us
depressed,
to
drunken
do it.
life.
And by the way, thank you. You're doing a great job, I have to tell you. So,
I hope you people
really
didn't touch
a
your
great
own
job.
up.
Because many of the things that they're cutting, like the New York project,
If you want
$20
to call
billion,
my
we're
stream about
cutting
that
it.
bullshit.
They're not going to get it back. I mean, they're not going to get a lot of things back. They may not get it back. Maybe we'll talk to them about it. But they're losing all the things
You
that
gotta
they
love people
wanted.
like Victor.
But many of the things that they wanted are things that we don't want. The things that are just so bad for our country. And we're cutting those things out.
All you gotta do is swipe up,
So
baby. What
while
you wanna
they
stay
thought
here?
they were
Appreciate
doing
you.
maybe bad, maybe indirectly they're doing good. The cynical comment that they've made all over the place, and all of their cynical remarks proves beyond all doubt that Schumer is a calculating political partisan, but we knew that. But he's somebody that's in
Actually,
deep trouble. He's losing in all of the
E7
polls.
in
He's
Navy?
even losing to AOC +3. Remember +3? What happened to the +3? Are they still around?
Never been to prison. I know more black people that have committed suicide. Actually, I know more men that have committed suicide in the past 3 years than I know that have gone to jail in my entire life. I've never been arrested. So all the stuff that you may want to project in my stream about black folks, I'm happy it makes you feel well at night because you probably live in a trailer park. Or you probably overdrafted your account yesterday. But now all of a sudden you want to be mad and stop on my stream to spew your hate. Thank you for tapping in because you're helping grow this channel regardless. Thank y'all. Let's get back to
I
it.
had one. I met when I was at the United Nations. I met the
Hold
president.
on. Big Tay, I forgot this one just for you. No. I gotta turn it up. I gotta turn it up just for you.
Yes! Fuck you too!
Long titty, no nipple having ass bitch.
Clock it.
Just for you, bitch, because I know you're looking for the African ceiling bird. So I'm gonna have that for you, but just don't forget.
Yes! Fuck you too!
If you come here with the racism, I'm here ready for you, baby.
Somalia, and I say, I have somebody I'd like to give back to you. He said, no thanks, we don't want her. He didn't want anything to do with her. But today I'm calling on every Senate Democrat to stop the madness, to let our country
Down
get
more,
back
baby.
in the greatest
Welcome
moment
to
in
the
history
stream.
of our country in terms of wealth, in terms of job creation, and in terms of investment coming in. These guys go on strike. It's really a shame. So I'm asking them to be smart. It's not working.
No
They're getting
kings.
killed in the polls. The public understands what they're doing. They're doing the wrong thing. And with that, I just want to say welcome to the White House. When we're finished, they do a great job. When they're finished, we're going to all come in. It'll be a little crowded, but that's okay. Into the Oval Office, we'll talk a little bit, couple of minutes. Got some interesting things. And I think I'd like to have, if I could, John come up and say a few words, and we can close it out. And by the way, this is an open mic. It's open to the world. I think they can hear me out on the street. If anybody wants to come up and say after John, say it. We're all friends, and you can speak your heart out. But we've got to get
can I really?
our government open, and the Democrats are trying to keep it closed. Thank you. John, please. Thank you, man.
Open mic my ass.
Well, Mr. President, thank you for having us. This is the 4th week of the Democrat shutdown, but we are all here today because your Republican team in the Senate is unified. We are,
Oh, man,
this
keep
is
it
now
straight.
the longest full shutdown in history, but everybody here has voted now 11 different times to open up the government, and we are going to keep voting to open up the government, and eventually the Democrats, hopefully sooner or later, are going to come around. But Mr. President, your agenda is the right one for this country. This is your team. We are your partners in achieving and implementing the agenda that you campaigned on and the American people voted for. And you just mentioned it has been a series of promises made and promises kept, whether it's national security, whether it's the border, whether it's the economy, taxes, regulations.
Oh, Nick Tay's still here. Thank
energy,
you, man. You helping run that
newborn
engagement up, man.
accounts, school choice.
Average
You look
watch
at
time
what
is
we've
boosting
accomplished
because
so
of you.
far. It is a
Thank you.
remarkable team and a record of accomplishment that can't be matched. And I would argue, at least in my time here, but perhaps in all of history. So thank you for your leadership, and we will continue to be good partners and work with you to get the work done for the American people. And let's hope that the Democrats get wise and starting perhaps even today, vote to reopen the government so we can get back to work for the American people.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. It sounds great, but it hasn't happened. And it really just means that collectively, neither side wants to talk. And even though there have been some conversations about maybe confirmations and other things,
President Trump's pick
for some odd reason, Republican text messages keep getting leaked, right? So guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to the next one. But again, if it's your first time here, thank you for tapping in. I am your boy, the hip hop lobbyist. I'm a professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. I've been doing it for roughly 15 years. And if you don't know what a lobbyist is, we are essentially sports agents for politicians. I've not only helped elect members to Congress, I've helped pass laws, not only help secure money for nonprofits and local governments and environmental issues, and help maybe also do some of the most unthinkable things that can happen in politics. I have some things happening now I have NDA about, I can't talk about. So hopefully in the next 6 months, by March at least, I'll be able to share this journey and this fight I'm having with environmentalists in South Florida. I'm not going to say too much because people can Google, they can find out, but we'll get to where it's at. Either way, thank y'all for tapping in. I lobby for Byron Donald's friend. Byron Donalds is a homie. No issues with Byron. Erica Donalds, she likes a lot of my tweets. She's a homie as well. I work in the charter school space as well. Worked with a lot of charter schools that were working in the urban community. And for some odd reason, these kids had PTSD syndromes and they needed special wraparound services for substance abuse and mental health. And I was able to lobby to get them some money from the government to help them get a better second chance at life. And also for other nonprofits that deal with mentorship and things for youth as well. There's just some issues I lobby about across the board. We want Byron Donalds. I'm not opposed to Byron, right? But at the same time, I do understand Democrats have a fight, but I think Democrats in Florida respectfully cannot win when you're electing or nominating former Republican candidates to be your statewide candidate for Democrats. That means that out of all the Democrats you have elected in the Senate or the Florida House or these local townships and cities and counties, that nobody's good enough, just a former Republican, that's the problem. There's no infrastructure here. We went from maybe 1 million, 2 million voter registration down to 750. Now we're behind maybe 1 to 3 million. So realistically, I don't think there's a shot for a Democrat to win in Florida unless Byron Donalds doesn't make it out the primary and something crazy, freaky deaky Dutch happens in Florida. But I don't think that the people that love DeSantis and love Florida are going to turn it away. But either way, thank y'all for tapping in. I have a good old troll in here today. Vic Tay, make sure you like and subscribe because you came in here with a little bit of racism, everything else. I'm not crying victims. You know what I'm crying about? This is the main thing I get mad about, right? After 15 years in the process, I see what the racism is outside the building. I see what the racism is in the building. And the building is in the Capitol where laws actually get passed and put together, right? Then I see people who are so passionate about the issue that they have no strategy. Then you have the media pundits and everybody else who just has an opinion about policy and about things all day, but they don't have a strategy. And for me to sit back and be able to have a strategy, it's like, you know what, let me open up a channel somewhere, YouTube happen to be it, to share my 2 cents and, you know, talk about the politics of the world, right? So at the end of the day, thank you for tapping in. And by strategy, since Vic Tay wants to be the most, go back to Africa. See, I love that. No strategy. Spell your own language like you, ooga booga. I'm gonna just keep him in here, right? I'm gonna keep bruh in here because y'all need to see the racism too. I had somebody call me, had one of my old professors commented online and he was like, Bill, did you sell your soul to the conservatives? I'm like, no, I just posting content, leaving commentary. And I said, you don't realize how, even as a Democrat, even as a man, you could leave my race to the side. People will just feel so ignorant to come on their phones in one way or another, watch my stream, and then just throw racial hate at me as if I'm forcing them to watch me. You can keep scrolling, but they're going to force themselves to watch me, say some negative stuff, keep commenting, not realizing that the algorithm interprets that as, oh, more people here commenting is boosting engagement. Oh, you're already monetized. Let's send more people here. Guess what? I'm going to get a check at the end of your hate. And I love it for me. So remember, dictate.
Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
Long titty, no nipple having ass bitch.
All right, let's go, man. Let's get back to it. Thank y'all for tapping in for the stream. I'm going to get to the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm not going to say too much. Actually, let me get this better. Let me get this right. No, that's not the one I want to do. Let's start here. CNN talking about one of Trump's appointees this is the second week in a row. Republican text messages have been leaked with racial context, monkey comments, niggas, not KNEE grows. I'm talking about the niggas and the GUHS as well. That's breaking down everything. So we have more racist text coming out. This guy said we should get rid of Martin Luther King Day. He said we should get rid of Juneteenth. Okay, whatever. And also that Martin Luther King, respectfully, was a George Floyd of the 60s. You can feel how you want to feel. I love it either way. But thank y'all for tapping in. Let's get back to it.
The Office of Special Counsel appears to be on thin ice, and that, quite honestly, may be a generous take. You now have the top Republican in the Senate, John Thune, saying this about Paul Ingrassia. He's not going to pass. It comes after Politico reported on racist text messages Ingrassia allegedly sent in a group chat with Republican operatives. In one message, Ingrassia allegedly texted that the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday should be tossed into the seventh circle of hell where it belongs. In another, Ingrassia, in a back and forth, allegedly wrote, I do have a Nazi streak in me from time to time. I will admit it. CNN's Annie Greer is on Capitol Hill for more. So you have this reporting, and you have what is in terms of the response from lawmakers on Capitol Hill now.
Well, Leader Thune was very clear last night, Kate. He said that Ingrassia doesn't have the votes, and he hopes that the White House pulls this nomination. Ingrassia was expected to meet in front of the Senate Homeland Security Committee on Thursday, and at least one of the Republicans on that committee, Republican Senator Rick Scott, told me last night that he does not support Ingrassia. So that right there is enough Republican opposition to end this nomination, assuming that all Democrats also vote against him, which we are expecting him to do. So Trump nominated Ingrassia to lead the Office of Special Counsel, which oversees all federal whistleblowers and civil servant laws. But his nomination has been clouded with controversy. CNN has reported on his history of alleged racist comments, and as you mentioned, the Politico reporting has a lot of messages in there. I'm going to read you two more of them. In one alleged message, Ingrassia says, quote, never trust a Chinaman or Indian, never, end quote. And in another text, Ingrassia writes, quote, blacks behave that way because that's their natural state. You can't change them. He then added, according to the chat, quote, proof, all of Africa is a shithole and will always be that way, end quote. Now, Ingrassia and his team are pushing back firmly on.
No, I'm not saying Trump's racist. I'm saying that the racists feel comfortable around him. And regardless of that, there are people who they feel so comfortable enough saying this shit to that they're like, you know what, this shit made me uncomfortable. And they shared the screenshot with somebody and the shit got out. Because that's also what's happening in Virginia with the Democrat, the Attorney General, who's gone crazy and basically texted to another member that if he had 3 bullets, he would kill somebody else's kids, another member's kids. And it's like, damn, some people just aren't psychologically fit, 1, to have a gun, 2, to be elected, right? I think personally, respectfully, I don't feel that I need to be elected to have an impact. But some people's ego feel that they can only serve a community, they can only serve a certain way if they're elected. And you see it because they go from one seat to the next and then they can never let go. And we have a lot of people, this older baby boomer generation, these 70, 80-year-old plus people who have institutional knowledge, but do not have the will to let go and pass the reins on to the next generation, right? All that put together, you now have these racist trolls who are latched on to Trump, getting back to my point, who basically almost had a major position of power with these thoughts. And it's not to say that we think racism ever died off with Obama. I think it's more of a fact of like, damn, this shit is making even your own people uncomfortable. It's really like singing Drake and saying the N-word. Like, we know you do it when the cameras are off, but all of a sudden if someone else is around, you're gonna skip over the word. That's cool, right? But don't act like, I think even as black folks and as Americans and as people collectively across the world, let's not act like racism isn't real. I think the other part of it is kind of like a guy in the victim comment saying, let's not be a victim to racism. Racism has happened to everybody. Some people lost their life to racism, like this guy, Victor Tate. His people would probably take you up and try to lynch you on a tree, right? That's exactly what America used to be. But now all of a sudden we want to act like we're greater than thou. You can't go slap somebody up for disrespecting you like, it used to happen 300-400 years ago. We're a better society today. Great, amazing. But we still have racist trolls out there who are in a position to basically say, hey, I'm going to smile in your face. Yeah, celebrate Dr. King. But he was George Floyd at his time. I mean, hey, it's not on me to judge. Y'all can have the judgment. I'm just here to watch the shit play out at this point.
The latest Politico reporting, in a statement, his attorney says, quote, in this age of AI, authentication of allegedly leaked messages, which
my
could
bad,
be
y'all.
outright falsehoods, doctored,
left it where I was,
manipulated, or lacking critical context, is extremely difficult. We do not concede the authenticity of any of these purported messages. So it is now in the hands of the White House, Kate, what they are going to do here. But Leader Thune was clear in his message. It's very rare for Republicans on Capitol Hill to push back on one of Trump's nominees, but we are seeing that here. Some Republican senators are expected at the White House later today, so we are going to be tracking closely if the president makes any statements or the White House makes any changes to Ingrassia's nomination.
Yeah, this is a space to watch today for sure. When John Thune says
thank you, Devon,
isn't going to
appreciate
pass, John Thune should know and does know what he's talking about when it comes to this. It's good to see you, Annie. Thank you very much.
With us now, CNN senior political commentator
hey,
David
Ricky,
Urban
funny.
and Democratic
Ricky,
strategist Megan Hayes. I just want to read a few more of the text that Daniel Littman reported on here, because what we said there only scratches the surface. In January of 2024, Littman reports that Ingrassia allegedly wrote of former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, never trust a Chinaman or Indian, never. And then discussing why Republicans feel Democrats make black people into victims, the text show Ingrassia remarked, blacks behave that way because that's their natural state. You can't change them. Another one, according to Politico, proof all of Africa is a shithole and will always be that way.
Egypt? South Africa? Because we were just talking about South African farmers and everything that was happening there and apartheid. And I guess, hey, we could look at even the Congo because they want to, look at certain parts of Africa as horrible. But then how are you going to have this guy in your administration, Trump? It can't happen. Because the Republicans have to beat, we are not racist, the Democrats are racist. So the Democrats are racist and the Republicans are racist, and the black folks are sitting here like, who the fuck should we vote for? And the Republicans are mad at Democrats and black folks are voting Democrats. Like, Republicans are mad, black folks are voting Democrat, but it's like, listen, bro, we know it's racist on both sides. It's just that the Democrats appeal to us a little more because they know how to talk to us, because we know that Paul Ingrassia is a whole lot of you in the Republican Party. And that's why I feel sorry for my boy Byron Donald sometimes, respectfully, because it's like, this guy you may have met and he may have shook your hand and said, you know what, hey, I support you, all this other shit, but in the back of his mind, you know that it's like, these motherfuckers don't fuck with me. And if it wasn't for the Trump endorsement, they really wouldn't fuck with you. But they realize that the Trump endorsement may hold some weight until we get to that primary. When we get to that primary, boy, it's going to open up like the floodgates. We're going to see what America really wants to see in Florida, I would say. But let's get back to it. Oh, my bad. Technical difficulties.
I'll read a statement from Ingrassia's attorney in just a moment. But first, David, to you, based on this reporting, why hasn't Ingrassia's nomination been pulled yet?
Yeah, John, I suspect it will be today at some point. Interestingly, the president is having Republican senators to the White House to thank them for helping him get his nominees through so quickly, and obviously this will be a topic of discussion. I would suspect that he'd have his nomination, or be told to have his nomination withdrawn, or have it withdrawn himself before that event occurs or right afterwards. Look, John, there's clearly no justification for having this individual out there. I mean, it is, now he's claiming, and his attorneys are claiming, well, it's AI. We're not owning up to this. That's convenient to do, but it's just despicable. It's
AI? Come on now.
It's insane that somebody who's vying for a position of trust and integrity within the government would be so callous and just insane about these very sensitive topics. Guy should be gone. Plus, I do believe that Senator Thune is right. There are three, what I recall is three Republican members of the committee on the committee saying they'll vote against him. So he's not going to make it out of the committee to even begin with. So he's dead man walking at this point. Quicker they turn the page on this, the better for the White House.
Let me read the statement David was talking about from the attorney from Paul Ingrassia. In this age of AI, authentication of allegedly leaked messages, which could be outright falsehoods, doctored and manipulated, or lacking critical context, is extremely difficult. We do not concede the authenticity of any of these purported messages. What issues do these texts raise?
I think it's different from one saying that the authenticity of them, and two, denying the fact that you even talk that way, you even use that vernacular, right? Or that, hey, here's the screenshots of my phone, here's the actual message, here's what's misconstrued. I think that if it didn't happen, you have it a whole nother conversation, but it's there, so you basically gonna throw AI at it like, nah, bruh. AI ain't doing all that, bruh, because the way the young Republicans' text messages got leaked and they denounced that, same here. And I think the biggest problem is even hearing Republicans like my girl Christina Pushaw, Ron DeSantis' homegirl, she was like, well, we shouldn't go after these young Republicans because look at what these people said about Charlie Kirk. And I was like, nah, bro, they had the same issue. Like, go after them the same damn way. I don't think it was right for Charlie Kirk to go out the way he did. I don't think it was right for people to celebrate it. The man was a husband. He was a father, right? Cool. Like Victor said, think about this, Victor, right? You talk about people that don't have fathers, black people, right? Just imagine those two girls don't have a father anymore. Just imagine the world they have to live in, like all the other black people in the world, growing up without a father, right? Imagine that. It's painless. It's heartless, right? Hurts your heart. So at the same time, it's like, damn, those people lost their jobs. So let's go after these YRs, these young Republicans, right? And make them lose their jobs too. Because at the end of the day, it's about having sensible people do sensible things. Attorney General and the Democratic Attorney General candidate in Virginia, get him out the race too, right? Everybody, we want people who are elected who at least have some sensibility to them, right? Who are serving in positions like, you know what? I'm white. I'm not racist. I don't want to have a white racist person representing me because that's going to look bad on me and my community. Or you just don't give a fuck. Like, hey, you be racist, do what you want to do, right? But at the end of the day, I don't think that's what people elect. I don't think people went to the ballot box last year to say, you know what? I'm going to elect somebody who's racist. Hypothetically speaking, some people may have said, fuck it, right? I'm voting for the white guy. I'm fucking racist. Fuck Kamala and her black ass, right? Some people may have said that, right? Cool. Have that opinion. But at the end of the day, I know a good portion of America, even though super conservative, evangelical Christians, sat back and said, you know what? I'm not voting for the racism, but I just don't want the shit around me. And all of a sudden now you're sitting here like, you know what? Hey, it's cool to have a damn racist in my administration. No, bitch. Come on, man.
I mean, just sort of like what David said, he's not qualified to be serving in government position. They're disgusting and gross. And I think that we're learning through this administration, when people show you who they are, we should believe them. And I would imagine that the White House.
Hey, Jay, true. I know black kids have fathers.
As David pointed out.
And Megan, you.
I was speaking to one commentator. I wasn't speaking in general. I was speaking to that one commentator. He knows who he is. He's in here trolling today. You probably seen him too.
Worked in a White House. I'm just curious how it got this far, right? Administrations for nominations vet candidates here. And yes, Daniel Littman is a terrific reporter and there's some great reporting here, but this doesn't seem that deep under the surface.
No, absolutely not. But sometimes private chats don't come out in a vet. I think sometimes people have a cross to bear with somebody and they leak these chats to the media. It gets more play if it's leaked to the media than they find it in a vet. Clearly this goes past what they want to happen in a nomination hearing. They don't want this person to work in the administration at all because he is dead man walking, as David suggested. So I just think that there is a lot more internal politics at play here with some folks who go up for a nomination. But when these texts are disgusting, and people should believe that this is who he is, and it shouldn't go any further.
And David, if you were crafting the statement from the White House, or J.D. Vance, for instance, the Vice President of the United States, who of the young Republicans, when some racist text messages came out of reporting last week on that, he basically said, oh, these were just jokes, their lives shouldn't be ruined based on this, these were young people. Would that kind of statement go far enough here?
No, John, look, Megan's the expert on communication, but you simply say, this kind of rhetoric will not be tolerated in this administration, and therefore we respect everybody, withdraws the nomination. Pretty simple.
Yeah, it is pretty simple. Now, I'm gonna go next here. Cause honestly, to be real with you, I don't support No Kings protests, right? I don't support that whole nonsense, because why am I gonna waste my Saturday waving on the side of the fucking street about having no kings? Trump ain't no damn king. Kiss my ass, right? But at the same time, I don't understand why these liberals like to make these street protests about nothing, but when there are actual issues that come before legislature, like the state of Florida, right? There's nothing when you're talking about how much kids are getting for funding for education, nothing about healthcare, nothing about disabled women and what they're getting, even nothing about women with breast cancer. See, my biggest issue is, even with the liberals, respectfully, right, is you have this narrative of women's health. I'm not going to have a child. My wife had our first. Cool. We're past that stage. What I'm thinking about next is, okay, how do I raise this child? So you're not thinking about the child after they're born. Okay, cool. But let's focus on women's health. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Where are the elected officials, both sides of the aisle, saying, hey, you know what? Hey, in a lot of states, when a woman detects a lump in their breast that they could have breast cancer, they may have to go pay $200 to $1,000 for the mammogram and $200 to $4,000 for the sonogram. If they don't have that money, let's say it's $2,000 on the high side, right? They have to wait. And they can go from stage 0 to stage 1 to stage 2. So by the time they get the money, it's further along. Why are we not talking about that? See, my issue is we get so caught up in the single narratives. Every election, healthcare, education, jobs, healthcare, education, jobs. They're coming after your schools. They're coming after your healthcare, Medicaid, Social Security. Okay, what about the everyday person? I'm 40 years old, and for 40 years, from what I know about politics, I started paying attention in the 90s, it's been the same issues that y'all been fighting back and forth about. They haven't been fixed. And now, after spending 15 years in politics, seeing some change and effectuating change, I sit back and say, well, damn, why are we protesting for No Kings on a Saturday? What the fuck are we protesting No Kings for on a Saturday when none of y'all even show up on a regular day? Did you know that in most states, they already started committee weeks? They already started the process for 2026 and 2027 while you're sitting here talking about President Trump. It doesn't even matter what you're talking about. The process is moving. And that's why I can't sit here and get caught up in a Stephen A. Smith and Roland Martin and their attacks on my girl Jasmine Crockett. You know why? Because she is at least leading a charge to have, one, Republicans mad as fuck at her. Cool. Love that. But two, she's getting younger folks engaged because they realize 98%, 99% of all elected officials are boring as shit. Collectively, they're some nerds. Or they some millionaires, could be billionaires, but they're boring ass people. She at least brings a personality that makes Republicans hate her, makes Democrats love her, and at the same time you have Stephen A. Smith talking about what are you going to do about Trump and you need help with you're not even really a leader in the process. Because in order to be a leader on the Republican or Democratic side, Vic Tay, or as anybody else knows, whatever you want to talk about DEI, the main thing is you got to be able to raise money. Nancy Pelosi was in power so long because guess what? She could raise some of that Silicon Valley, some of that Napa Valley wine money, okay? And all of a sudden, when you can have somebody who can raise a lot of money for you and give $5,000 to your campaign or give $10,000 to your PAC, it's cool because guess what? If your homeboy go ask you and they want to go run for Congress as a Republican or Democrat, and they say, you know what, bruh, the max out is $5,400. $2,700 for the primary, $2,700 for the general. Can you and 30 of your friends cut me a $5,400 check this week? Actually, before the 30th. A lot of your friends may say no. A lot of your friends may say $25, $35, $55, $25. And then you got to go raise the rest of the money. And you're asking yourself, how am I going to get to Congress if I can't raise this money? Because the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, whatever party you want to be a part of, told me I got to raise this amount to get there. Well, maybe you go loan yourself some money. You can't run for office broke. All of a sudden, you realize that when you're in the game and you lose the election. And I'm saying all that to say that the no king shit is some bullshit. These politicians are running this game on everybody. And all of a sudden, we're lost in the mix of emotions because the real policies getting passed isn't even being discussed. But while you're here today, I'm going to check out my girl, Jasmine Crockett. See what she has to say at the Texas No Kings protest, because I do think after a while, I said it to my Republicans on stream the other day about Donald Trump, and I'm going to say about the Democrats too, respectfully. And I know I may take heat from my black folks on this, right? Again, I'm a Democrat. I'm not Uncle Tom. Whatever y'all want to label me, cool. I'm a realist. But I also realize this. A lot of it is just a narrative. A lot of it's a talking point that's going to get circled back and forth, and we're never going to actually get to a solution, because guess what? If I keep you circled in the bullshit, you're never going to ask me for a real solution to your everyday problems. Let's get back to it. I'm gonna switch this up and get on board.
Now listen, there go the sunrise. Listen, the little turd in charge. He's wreaking havoc on this country. And every time that I travel, it doesn't matter if I'm in a small town, a big city, what I consistently hear is people saying that they are feeling hopeless. And let me tell you something. I understand why people would feel that way. But let me tell you, if you continue to allow them to make you feel hopeless, they will win. Today is about showing the rest of the world who we are. We are bigger, better, and badder than the bullshit that is coming out of D.C.
I'm telling y'all now.
We know what it is to love this country. We know what it is to say that we're patriots. We know what it is to love and honor our Constitution, and we know what lawlessness looks like. I've gone and disappearing people. Lawlessness looks like Donald Trump, who just happens to be convicted of 34 felony convictions.
See, that's what I'm saying about the talking points, right? Because we ran the 34 felony convictions last election. People heard it for about 18 months. People didn't give a shit. They still voted. You had people who were anti-Kamala saying, listen, I don't give a fuck about them 34 convictions. And a part of it is, across the board, Democrats need new talking points. Because it's like, you know what? If you have a significant other that's cheating on you, right? And they're tricking off on you. They say they're going to do better. But then next thing you know, they're sleeping with your coworker, right? And then they're sleeping with your homegirl. Then they're sleeping with your cousin and your sister. And all of a sudden, it's like you believe in the same shit. It's like after a while, you got to realize this shit ain't working. The shit that nobody gives a fuck. He going to keep tricking off. And you going to keep saying this shit to people who don't get, because it's going to get the liberals that really care. Yeah, he's a convict. It didn't stop all these millions of people from voting for him. It didn't stop them. Let me tell you what happened in Florida in 2010, right? Since people don't want to be real about it. They said Rick Scott, the U.S. Senator today, when he was running for governor, he pled the fifth 27 times for Medicaid fraud. The people still voted his ass in. Guess what? They said it again for re-election. They didn't hear it the first time. Baltimore's out here. We're going to do it again. He won re-election. Oh, you know what? Fuck it. He's running for U.S. We're going to do it again. Guess who the U.S. Senator is for the great state of Florida? The messaging doesn't work. People don't care he was convicted 34 times. They care about what's happening in their day-to-day. What's the gas price in their city? How much has food impacted their quality of life? So you know, hey, I got to decide between filling in my tank, buying my kids some snacks for groceries, or putting some food in my house, or getting my car fixed, or getting a roof done, or getting some whatever the fuck ever they got to do in life. Not everybody may make it look good on social media. But the way these suicide rates are happening, I'm quite sure a lot of people are depressed with this debt. Okay? Let's not get the shit fucking twisted, right? But at the end of the day, to this point, I honestly feel this message needs to be dropped. It doesn't make sense. If the 34 convictions were going to move people, they wouldn't have reelected his ass last November. Stop the bullshit. And it's not for Jasmine Crockett, it's for Democrats. It's like, bruh, come on, man. Are we going to run the same play over and over? You want to halfback dive the whole game. This is what's wrong with the Democrats. They think this shit actually works.
Lawlessness looks like going after your political enemies just because. Lawlessness looks like letting insurrectionists go free while telling us that people in American cities are the real insurrectionists because they decide to show up on a day like this. Let me tell you something. They divided us in this last election, but I am here to tell you that united we will stand. We only fell because they divided us.
That's right.
So I want us all to be smarter. I want us all to love on one another. They try to say that Democrats are the real terrorists in this country. I am here to tell you that we are not. I am here to tell you that love really will conquer and we will win. So please don't give up hope. Please continue to fight. Don't just show up at the rallies, but show up at City Hall. Show up at the school board. And make sure you show up at the polls and you vote. Show up. We have an election that is coming up. Do you know when the next election is right here in Houston? November 4th. Show them that we are better than the hate that they espouse. Show them that we are the American dream. Show them that we love and respect immigrants because we are a country of immigrants. Listen, y'all. I'm not gonna hold you because I know y'all ain't really want to hear from me, no elected officials.
Vic Tay, that's the only comment I'll agree with. I think most black elected officials fear they are revolutionary. But then if you don't know the process, they can seem like one.
Inspiring generations. Do not let them take your hope. Do not let them take your education. Do not let them take your health care. And some days I know you wake up and you say, am I the crazy one? I'm here to tell you that you are not. We are the same ones. We know what we are supposed to do in this country, and that is why freedom of speech is being exercised on today. That is why when they tried to shut down Kimball, the people rose up. So you need to keep rising. Because I promise you, as soon as number one, we get the 218th signature, we are about to expose additional corruption. When we get to these midterms, there's going to be a real check on his power. So do not stop. After today, make sure you go and grab a friend and you tell them about the beauty of our country. You tell them that the power belongs to the people. And we will never cede our power. Not today, not yesterday, and definitely not tomorrow. All power to the people. I love you so very much. Thank you so much for coming out.
Now, again, I love Jasmine Crockett, but I'll be real with you. To the main point of this, there was nothing to be said besides engaging people to get photo ops for her to come out and speak, right? encourage the people while they're out there. My issue again is, after the No Kings protests, none of these people will be able to tell you how much their state is funding students per pupil in their state education system. They won't know the numbers on anything to fix any piece of legislation, because you know people talk about numbers at what. Sorry, I'm rambling here. When you talk about changing policy and changing laws, you got to understand the fiscal impact of it, right? So even though people want to go out here with all this passion, no kings, they won't be able to offset anything that Republican legislatures will be doing in North Carolina regarding maps, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, anywhere else. You know why? Because they're not going to take the same passion from No Kings protests and go down to their state legislatures and actually be able to influence policy or actually negotiate policy with people. And you know what? I understand why a conservative would feel this way for all the rural areas they represent. Not racism, right? For the businesses in those communities, the tax base in those communities, and the quality of life in those communities and how policy would impact them. Simple things like protecting schools from shooters. How in rural communities, maybe they don't have a sheriff station or police officers available to show up within 10 or 15 minutes, right? It's one of those things to think about. If it takes for a rural middle school or high school for a 45-minute or hour drive for someone to get there, it's like, you know what is the impact this one trip or this safety of this school may cost our local government, right? And even though that sounds like a BS excuse, you have to honestly realize that most of America does not live in the urban or suburbs. They live in rural America, like Kansas, Utah. I'm not saying population-wise, but like there's a lot of rural America out there, right? So you won't get a lot of policies that support a New York and Atlanta and LA really fluctuating heavy in a Utah or sometimes Arizona, Tennessee, other places, because those people have different ideals. That's in the story. But to Jasmine Crockett, love Jasmine Crockett. I think that she'll actually win a re-election, even though a lot of people feel she'll get, because she was quote unquote drawn out. I think her name ID is strong enough to help her get where she needs to go. So I've seen that. Let me make this. Hakeem Jeffries is planning a press conference. And out of anything, I don't really vibe with Hakeem Jeffries, to be real, right? I think he's one of the weakest leaders the Democrats have had. Of course, Nancy Pelosi is who I've seen more in my lifetime than anyone else, but I don't think he has the answers. And because it ends up being more talking points, more of the same after the same, and it just doesn't really move the needle on anything, right? So he'll have his press conference. We'll tune into that. I'm going to take a slight bathroom break, maybe a smoke break. I'm going to take a smoke break, and I'll be back on. Actually, I'm going to wait for him to get here and him to start talking, and I'll take my smoke break. How about that? I don't want to leave y'all here by yourselves. But let me know where y'all tapping in from today. I know Vic Tay was throwing up some good old hate earlier. I think I did a good thing getting a lot of the Trump supporters in here early, bright and early. They were watching the president, and the black guy shows up, and all of a sudden they were up the fuck set. And actually, while I wait on, while we wait on Hakeem Jeffries, I'm gonna go to the Breakfast Club interview. I actually like Wes Moore. He's governor of Maryland. I don't really watch the Breakfast Club that much. I think they give Charlamagne too much credit politically for his opinion, because I honestly feel if you're not professionally working in the government affairs space, you can't really give government affairs solutions, right? You can only have opinion, because when you understand process, you see how some of the thoughts of outsiders don't really work inside. You know what, Vic Tay, I hope that you subscribe, baby, because you've been here so long, man. I hope you subscribe.
Every day I wake up, wake your ass up. The Breakfast Club.
Y'all finished or y'all done?
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, just hilarious. Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Yes, indeed.
This morning, we got your governor, Jess.
You already know.
Governor of Maryland, Governor Wes Moore.
Period.
Welcome.
It's good to be back with my favorite constituent.
What's
up, Jess?
Absolutely. What's up? How you doing?
Y'all might be related. Y'all got the same last name.
Yes.
I'm saying. Yeah. That's cousin.
Yes.
If it's not, you should say it is.
I always do. I always say it.
We
That's my cousin.
over?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's my cousin.
Show the
Yeah.
license.
And everybody loves Governor Wes Moore. Oh, yeah, you can go ahead. Period.
You ain't never asked for no pardon, though.
I didn't. That was the conversation after this interview. Expunge some stuff for me. Yo.
Well, how are you feeling, first and foremost?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm
Everything's
feeling
good?
great. Everything, honestly, everything's good. It's like, You know, I say this, thank God we're in Maryland.
Yeah.
You know, because I see everything that's going on around the country, and I see the fear, the frustration, and I see like Maryland's just moving different. Maryland's taking care of each other. There's no state that's taking it on the chin from this Trump administration like Maryland has. I mean, like people forget, before this ridiculous federal government shutdown, Donald Trump had already fired over 15,000 Marylanders.
That's right.
Who are federal workers. Pulled grants. I mean, you know, restricted any type of aid to our folks over in Western Maryland, despite having historic floods. Literally, when we put in for federal disaster relief, which we qualified for, they literally sent a message back saying support for Maryland is not warranted.
Wow.
That's it.
Right.
So, but despite all that, we have some of the fastest job growth rates inside the entire country, one of the lowest unemployment rates in the entire country. We're making sure we're taking care of our federal workers. We're making sure we're uplifting our community. So, listen, thank God we're in Maryland.
I use Maryland as an example all the time because I remember I was at my daughter's cheerleading tournament back in like February, and the amount of people who were walking up to me who were concerned that they were either going to lose their jobs or they already had lost their jobs because of those was insane. So I can imagine what you get.
And Charlamagne, it's crazy because, like, who are we talking about? We're talking about people who do things like make sure that our food is safe, right? Make sure that our critical infrastructure is protected. Make sure that veterans like myself who come back home and who need medication, that they're getting their medication. That's who they're choosing to go after first. And so looking at this assault that we have had on our federal workers.
No, real quick, I think that I haven't read it all the way through. I took like a week off. I was sick last week. I believe that they did pass something for the military members and the armed service members to continue to get their benefits during the shutdown. And also there were other moves to make sure that all federal workers get paid throughout the shutdown. But a lot of those haven't passed through yet.
And again, and now we're talking about the only way that you're going to reopen a government is by cutting people off healthcare, raising premiums by 95%. Healthcare is already too expensive. And now you're talking about raising premiums by 95% for folks. Like, this is crazy what's going on. And so Maryland, you know, in many ways, Maryland really does take it and have to take it. Like, these are not indirect blows. These are direct shots at me and direct shots at us. We get it. But the thing that we're really focusing on is how can we make sure we're protecting our people and really diversifying our economy so we don't have to be as reliant on Washington, D.C. or who sits in an Oval Office.
Break it down. Like, how are you getting through it? Because there's governors and mayors that are having a hard time, but Maryland is making it through. So how is Maryland making it through? How are, people finding jobs? How are people paying rent and car notes and putting food on their table? How are you guys doing it?
Well, one is I think our folks realize is that we're not bending the knee to nobody. Anybody who's sitting there saying, well, if you just be quiet, they'll stop. Or if you don't push back, I'm like, listen, I don't know a situation where it's like, listen, if you just be quiet, they'll stop beating you. Like, that's never happened. Never. And so the thing that we're doing, we're being aggressive about what it means to protect our people. So for example, with our federal workers, we've made sure that there are pipelines for our federal workers to be able to get available and essential state jobs or private sector jobs. We started something called Feds to Eds, where we knew that Maryland, as well as many other states, has a teacher shortage right now. So I'm saying, if I got someone who's working for the federal government, who is interested and qualified, get them certified, get them trained, get them in a classroom as quickly as possible, so we can both address the teacher shortage as well as making sure that they're getting employment. That alone, we've now seen since I've been the governor, we have closed that teacher shortage we have by 25%.
Damn, that's amazing.
And a lot of that is because of these federal workers who are now coming on board. We have federal workers who they are forcing to go to work, this is crazy. There are federal workers that are forcing to go to work and not paying them. So we got folks in Maryland who are working and not getting paid. We got politicians in Washington who are paid and not working.
Right.
And so
we still got to pay taxes.
And we still got to pay taxes on them while they're not doing anything, right? And so for federal workers who are now forced to go to work and they're taking public transportation, they're paying for public transportation despite not getting a paycheck. So what did I do? I said, for all public transportation for federal workers, it's free.
Wow.
It's free. Just show your federal government pass and you're good.
Wow.
So it's like, so we are making sure we're being aggressive. We're as long as we can, we're going to cover down on Medicaid, SNAP, WIC, despite the fact that the federal government is now cutting it off from our states. I'm saying that in the state of Maryland, we're going to make sure that our people are protected and our people are taken care of. So I tell our folks, man, while Washington is telling this country you're on your own, in Maryland, we tell our people we leave no one behind.
I wanted to ask you about the No Kings protests that were happening this weekend. Like, in your view, what does the level of turnout say about public sentiment toward executive power in America today?
Well, I tell you, one of the things I was really taken by, it's not even just the numbers, it's the where. Some of the biggest No Kings turnouts that we had in our state were in rural parts of our state, conservative parts of our state. And I think about it this way, man, where it's like, you know, for example, when we just announced our reelection 2 weeks ago, some of the first people that came out and endorsed us were actually Republican lawmakers in Western Maryland, because they were like, at a time, and these are places that voted for Donald Trump by 75, 77, 78%. But they were like, but listen, in our time of need, the governor showed up. We were some of the first boots on ground when they had historic flooding out in Western Maryland. The president, nowhere to be found.
I think that's what matters to people the most, right? When you talk about individual politics like bipartisanship, things that change people's identity or ideology on the other party, I think those are the kind of things that make you say, you know what, hey, but it's also Maryland. So you could probably have a lot more moderate Republicans than you have in other places like Kansas and Kentucky and Alabama, right, respectively. But at the same time, I do think that changes some things and say, you know what, hey, this guy's the leader. But across the board, I think everybody kind of knows Wes Moore is positioning himself to run for president after President Trump, 2028. So this is kind of needed for the talking points and showing how Maryland is successful. But I do know there are a gang of black folks that are mad at him because he did not support a reparations bill for Maryland. Now, the thing is, if you don't know, you're unfamiliar with a lot of the black culture, they have these things they call the foundational black Americans, as in Americans who were black, who were here from the foundation of America. Then you have the American descendant of slaves. And those two factions are mad at Governor Wes Moore and saying, you know, he's not as black as he needs to be because he's one of those black politicians that doesn't put reparations first. And my issue with reparations is this, the same thing I have with the liberals and the No King protesters. Y'all don't show up on a regular day or know the process half a way to tell anybody what they should be doing in the first place. So when it comes to reparations, my biggest thing is it 40 acres and a mule? One. Is it learning technology, keeping grandmama house from gentrification? Like what is it, reparations really? Because honestly, it's kind of like Bernie Sanders and AOC when they talk about a living wage. What is that number? Is it $18 an hour? Is it $26 an hour? Is $26 an hour enough in all 50 states for people to survive? Is that the minimum wage? Is that the minimum wage that people need to be paying people in order to operate a business and hire employees? I need to cut my fingernails. I just realized that. My bad, y'all. But it's something to throw out there. But a lot of people, a lot of Democrats, a lot of Republicans, well, Republicans like to throw numbers out there. Sometimes, not always, right? But they're not putting a figure with it. So it ends up being bullshit. But to the end of it, let's get back to Governor Wes Moore. I appreciate y'all tapping in, man.
That we actually invested millions of dollars to make sure that they can get furnaces. Because I'm telling you right now, we're talking about some of the coldest parts of our state and people who do not have furnaces. People will lose their lives this winter. Mm-hmm. We put in millions of dollars from the state to make sure they're good. The president, support for Maryland is not warranted.
Because of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of you.
Exactly. I know. My bad, y'all. My bad. But it's like, but the point is, it's like, so when you're going out there and you're seeing No Kings protests, when you're seeing them like, listen, is this about rule of law? Yeah, it's about rule of law. Is it about you came in and you say you make things more affordable, and we've seen how energy prices have risen by 20% since he's been the president, that these tariffs are making everything from the clothes that we're wearing to the food that we're eating more expensive? Yeah, but you know what it's also about? You keep breaking your promises, man. Mm-hmm. Everything you said that you were going to do, they are now waking up and realizing he never cared about you.
That's right. He promised economic change on day one.
For him, it happened. He's had great economic change.
Definitely.
He has been, I tell you, the two greatest beneficiaries of the Trump administration so far have been the Trump family and China.
Ooh.
The Trump family and China have had a great streak for the past 10 months.
Why China? Because it seems like they've had like issues.
Because when American leadership pulls back, who's helping to fill up the vacuum?
Got you.
that oftentimes when you're talking about our foreign policy, this really is a larger battle between the U.S. and China. China being one of the fastest growing economies over a period of the past 20 years. China being a country that has always pushed and reflected and said, like, we want to make sure that we're having our proper respect. Mm-hmm. And the United States, who in many ways is kind of like this upstart, you know, they're like the startup in the globe. You know, we're about to celebrate 250 years. China's like 250 years. Like that's a blink of an eye when it comes to Chinese history. Mm-hmm. But also look at what has now happened as the U.S. has pulled away from things like foreign aid and support in everywhere from Africa to South America. Who's helped to fill in that? China. Yeah. China. Yeah. Right. Who has helped to come in when we're having conversations about new resources and energy supports, right? And come up with long-term energy supplies. When you have the Trump administration who's pulling away from increasing energy supplies, which, by the way, is making energy prices more expensive on everybody.
It's the uncertainty as well, right? As an energy consultant and someone who works in this space as well, it's the uncertainty from the big, beautiful bill, right? Now, I know organizations from Florida all the way to Texas that I spoke with who are more on the fact of saying, you know what, cool, how is this impacting us for solar? Do we have to go straight coal? What about gas? Do we have to, like, it's, even though gas wasn't really a part of it, it's like a fact of everybody kind of had their ingrained parts of the EVs, what they were doing from electric vehicle standpoint, some of these mandates. A lot of the warehouses and construction folks are like, you know what, hey, this isn't working for us. But now all of it kind of bottlenecks into where we are on top of Mother Nature. We've had in certain areas, like in Florida, it snowed last year in Florida, right? Imagine that. The state of Florida, the Sunshine State, in the wintertime, it snowed. And people were so worried about, okay, we don't have snow tires. We're not prepared for this. It shut down some cities in North Florida for a couple of days, right? Respectfully. So there is a change happening. We have some of our coldest winters, some of our hottest summers. And because of that, trickles off into these energy prices. The tariffs don't help, on top of the uncertainty from the big, beautiful bill on a lot of the energy, EV, solar, renewable energy removals, right? Now, the major part of it is, and we went through some of it on the channel. If I got to repurpose that content, I will. Some of it doesn't go into effect till 2027, 2028. So it does get into a point of saying a lot of people in utility companies are preparing, but as they're building out infrastructure, as the other things are happening, AI, energy prices are going up. And because of that, who has to pay for it and deal with it? You know what, the ratepayers.
I believe that we should be investing in solar and wind and nuclear and all the energy technologies that can help to make energy prices more affordable, because.
But not everybody wants all that stuff in their backyard. You can own some land. Sorry for cutting it off again. You could own 100 acres. And you know what? Somebody's building out a 300, 500 acre solar farm next to you. You could fight against it. It happens. Some people don't want nuclear power plants in their backyard. They don't want it close to their waterways. They don't want a lot of these things. Cool. But some of it is needed. Guess what? We may not have to build a nuclear power plant. We have nuclear rods that we could build out and they could power all of this, but it'll only be in your backyard, about 4,000 square feet. We could power the entire South Georgia. Excuse me. From Savannah all the way to Macon. With one house full of rods. I apologize for burping in your face. Lunch was kind of heavy. But to that point, it ends up saying, okay, who wants this in their backyard? So we can have all the renewable energy we want. We can have the wind pipes in the ocean, like the wind farms that they had in the ocean, but those end up being disastrous after a while. So we can have it all, but where are we going to put it all?
Because when you increase supply, you then can be able to decrease costs. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump is simply saying, like, nah, we're not doing any of that stuff. You know what that's going to do? It continues to drive energy prices up. Do you know who is investing in those new technologies? China.
Right.
So listen, the Trump family and China have done very, very well over the past 10 months. The average American family, not so much.
We had a bunch of candidates up here, mayoral candidates from New York and governors from Jersey, and everybody talks about their relationship or wanting to work with Trump. Is that even an option with you?
Listen, I'm very clear, man. I will work with anyone. I will just bow down to no one. I'm not built that way.
That's fair. Okay.
Like, I'm always going to fight for my people. Like, the people of my state, they understand. Like I'm not I don't come from a political world. I don't come from a political family.
That's what I'm talking about.
I don't come from a political background. I'm a soldier.
RN out here.
That's who I am. That's how I'm built.
Next
and
president
so
right there, man.
if someone is trying to do something that's going to benefit the people of my state,
let's go.
If someone's trying to do something that's going to benefit my community and my people,
let's go.
Then I'm always interested in being able to find ways of working together, so on and so forth.
That's
problem is,
about,
I have
man.
seen nothing from this administration that shows there's an interest in that. I have seen nothing but shots at us. I've seen nothing but talk about how you're going to send National Guards into my communities. I've seen nothing but them turning down federal aid and federal supports that is justified and necessary for the people of my state. I've seen nothing but them using the Constitution like it's a suggestion box. So, if you want to have a real conversation about being able to help the people of Maryland and lift us up and continue the trajectory that we've been on since my administration has come on board, I'm always down to have that conversation.
Now, as a former soldier, talk about the negative things about having soldiers put into the community.
There are so many problems with this, and it's so deeply performative. And here's the thing that gets me on a couple fronts. If he wants to have a real conversation about making our community safer, I'm here for that. I've been very clear. There is no higher priority for me than making sure that our communities are safe. I think about what's happened in Maryland. In Maryland, for the 8 years before I became the governor, we saw the homicide rate nearly double. The non-fatal shooting rate did double. Baltimore City, the year before I became the governor, in 2022, we had almost a homicide a day. And so when we came on board, I said, I am not going to be a governor that's going to sit there and give eulogies and give thoughts and prayers and not do a damn thing about actually making our community safer. So what do? I started working with Mayor Scott. I started working with Mayor Baltimore. I started working with local law enforcement. I started working with county executives around the state. We made historic investments in predictive analytics and technologies and community violence intervention groups, community violence interruption groups. And the results have been this. In the past 2.5 years, we have seen how Maryland has had amongst the fastest drops in violent crime anywhere in the United States of America, amongst the fastest drops in property crime anywhere in the United States of America. The homicide rates in the state of Maryland since I've been the governor are down nearly 25%.
Boy, that sounds like a Democratic nominee for president right there, babe. I'm trying to tell you, you better get on the Westmore train for governor. Sorry, the Westmore train for president now. It's going to be him and Shapiro. But I like Westmore a little bit because his experience, he's personable, and I think that he can actually have a message. But the Democratic talking point shit gonna have to go. He's gonna have to make his own. Like, it's gonna have to be middle of the road, speaking to middle America about what's actually happening. For the Democrats, I think he gives them the best shot. Republicans, y'all can do Trump 2028 all you want. Westmore coming up, I'm telling you. To be honest, right? Now,
that we've seen in Baltimore City, the last time the homicide rate was this low in Baltimore City, I wasn't born yet.
Wow.
That's the kind of drops we've seen. And now, despite that, the president's talk about how we have children who are natural born killers, and he's now going to send the National Guard in our community. I'm like, first of all, your 1980s Archie Bunker mentality mindset is not going to fly because it goes against all data that's actually happening and the momentum we're actually seeing. But the other thing about it is this, man, it's that, like, I know what it's like for these soldiers. I know what it's like to put on the uniform. I know what it's like to say goodbye to your family. I led soldiers overseas in Afghanistan. And so for him to continue to have this fetish of military uniforms, like it's a child, where he's going to ask these men and women to do something that he was never willing to do. Say goodbye to your family and to go to deploy and to do operations and missions that municipal policing is not something our National Guards are trained for. I'm the commander-in-chief of the Maryland National Guard. I know my guys.
Talk that shit.
That's not one of them. And I also know that if you look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. and the deployments that they're having, I can tell you that these National Guards, men and women, these citizen soldiers who are giving up their lives because they trust their commander-in-chief, have taken more selfies and they've made arrests. They painted more fences and picked up more trash than they've actually done drug busts. So what are we talking about right now? This is what the president is doing, and Hegseth and all these guys. It's performative. It's offensive. It's offensive to our communities. It's offensive to these military personnel. It's offensive to their families because you're now asking them to leave their families and to do what?
And nobody ever asked him what's the long-term solution. Like,
Never.
what's the long-term solution
Never.
for crime prevention? Okay, you're doing this now, but what's the long-term plan?
I think that's a great question, because all that happens is crime may decrease for one administration, then it increases for the next. And that's what's used by Republicans and Democrats to win office the next time. And there's never a solution. There's never a solution for low-income communities. How do you help people put themselves up in their bootstraps? I'm not saying throw government money at them. Sometimes they just need resources. Sometimes it's better roads. Sometimes it's just an investment in their community. Sometimes, like, you know what, shit, hey, we've done everything. Y'all need to take ownership of it, and like having that wake-up conversation with some communities, like, you know what, hey, yes, let's take better ownership of what we own and what we love to do, right? But I don't think that government can fix crime either, because it's like fixing everybody's social psychotic issues, right? It's like we have crazy people in this country, like all over the world, your city, my city, everywhere, right? So that's one thing. So I don't think crime will go anywhere. I don't think government can fix it, but government can't just allow shit to keep going with no solution. People don't want to be throwing tax dollars at the guy in the chat saying, oh, we've thrown all these tax dollars at the black community to fix the black community, whatever. It's like, all right, cool. If that's how you feel, how are you going to get a return on investment for your money, right? For your tax money investment. And at the same time, how do we make sure that people who are in these communities have what they need to keep crime out of it? It's not just having more police there. You have crooked police. It's like, I think there's a bigger socioeconomic issue where everyone has to just put the politics aside and say, okay, what's really the problem? What's really happening? And how do we really fix this? But then again, there's profit in crime. You don't believe so? Private prisons, not just them. Substance abuse centers. All these people that are on drugs, addicted to drugs, they go into the prison system, they need to get healed. It's a whole system. People would lose jobs if you take all the crime away, because like, damn, who the hell do we fix now? So it's all circling together.
He wants to have a serious conversation. I would love for the president of the United States, and I'm not holding my breath on this, to have a serious conversation.
What dollars are they throwing at the black community? I mean, I would ask you this. You ask a good question. Before you ask that, go look to your city budgets, your county budgets, and your state budgets on what they are already allocating to certain areas. Now, it can be our property taxes. Wealthier areas may look better than where we are in our urban communities. I'm not an urban community, right? I'm in the suburbs for what it is. But it's more of a discussion on what's happening and where these dollars trickle back down into our communities. I think that sometimes black folks don't see what's actually happening and then say they're doing nothing without actually understanding what the baseline is that's actually being drawn down. It can be not only the per pupil education, like how much they're educating per child in tax money, but also what they're creating in a community. Let me back to
policy, because listen, I tell them, you know what I would love to do? I know for myself and the mayor and our county executives, we'd love to talk to you about banning Glock switches.
I didn't see the comment.
And the ability to turn these Glocks into automatic weapons. We'd love to have a conversation about banning ghost guns.
Yeah, black neighborhoods do pay taxes. I didn't say they don't. I think it's more of a fact of understanding how many of those tax dollars actually come back into our communities. And I don't think that you can say that we don't pay or we don't get anything. It's like a fact of, okay, understanding what we do get, and then from understanding what we do and don't get, then advocating for more. We can't just say that we don't get anything, because then you have this other part where, you know how the racists get. I got a racist guy in here who made his other account, and he's been commenting again. I put his first account on timeout for 30 minutes, so he made another one or using his backup account. You gotta love these trolls. Make sure you
We'd love to have a conversation with you about additional ATF and FBI resources and supports. I'd love to have a conversation with you about LPRs, license plate readers, so that can help to actually track down crime. I'd love to have a conversation with you about stop cutting the funding that was coming to our communities for community violence intervention groups that were actually on the ground doing the work. But he's not interested in that. But what he is interested in doing is he'll cut funding for stuff that's actually working, but then ask the American taxpayer to pay over $1 million a day so they can watch National Guard take selfies.
Are you concerned, like when you saw the meeting that, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and President Trump had with the U.S. military generals and admirals, are you concerned that some of those generals and admirals may go along with him and pledge loyalty to him and not the Constitution?
Yeah, I remember I'm on a bunch of different group chats things with a lot of military folks who I serve with and people who are still in. And I remember getting one from
hold on, for all the commenters. Again, You're on your phone watching me. You're taking time out of your day to troll me on my channel, and guess what? Fully monetized. So I'm getting paid for this. So thank you for taking your time to hate on me. Either if you don't agree with my opinion or whatever. Like and subscribe if you like it. If you don't, keep pushing. Like, I don't understand if you don't want to be here what the issue is. Because again, you can drop the racism all day, but it's still. Oh, hold on. Did it hit? Oh, I got to turn it up. Y'all didn't hear it, right? It wasn't loud enough for me, at least.
Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
Long titty, no nipple having ass bitch.
Like, I don't give a fuck. You're here watching me with your lame ass. It's crazy because I didn't invite you here. You just happened to stumble here and stay. But thank y'all for staying anyway, man. Let's get back to this.
A buddy of mine, and he said, listen, I've oftentimes disagreed with the commander-in-chief. Mm-hmm. Not often am I embarrassed by him.
Wow.
At least I'm embarrassed.
Wow.
Because there's just a lack of seriousness that he and et cetera are taking on this. There is, and one thing I always say is that, listen, as soldiers, we know our job.
You know that black people that live in the suburbs, you're so fucking dumb. I live in a mixed race community. I have white people and black people in my community. I don't know what makes you assume that I lived in the ghetto before. I've lived in other cities where I lived outside the city, western parts of Palm Beach County. That was, guess what? Outside of the ghetto. But I had property there. How about that? Rent a property in the hood. It doesn't matter. You can live where you want to live. I still went to school where I wanted to go to school. I still end up going to college. I still end up being a successful person. And I've never been arrested. How about that? Now you want to sit here and be mad because somebody's black? Like, bruh, you can live where you want to live. Who says that being in the suburbs means you're living around white people? I'm living in a mixed race community. We have Asians, Mexicans, black folks, white folks, America. I live in America. Isn't that what America looks like? You go to the grocery store, you only see white people? No. You see Hispanic people? Yes. You see black people? Yes. You see everybody. And that's my neighborhood, collectively. So I don't even know what the problem is. We have veterans next to me, police officers, firefighters, everybody. Why is it a problem? People think just because you don't live in the hood, you gave away. I never lived in the hood. Point blank, period. In the parts of my life where I did live in what could be conspired as a hood, I didn't feel unsafe. I was at home. I don't know what the issue is, but all of a sudden people just want to take these racist trope narratives, and I love y'all. Is he boosting engagement?
We know our oath. We took an oath to the Constitution and always protect and defend people against all enemies of this country, foreign and domestic. And we took an oath that we would always honor all lawful orders of the President of the United States. The thing that is really challenging for a lot of people right now is this blurring of a line that we are seeing from this White House about what orders are lawful and what orders are not.
And we've seen it in other countries.
Hey, I appreciate y'all, man. Love the hate,
Germany.
man.
We've seen it happen in Germany. We've seen it happen in Russia under Stalin. Like, what if just say 30-40% of those military people say, you know what, we gonna ride with the president?
Yeah. No, listen.
Then what?
I think this is this is where we know that we are in a really complicated and dangerous place. I take my role as Commander-in-Chief of the Maryland National Guard very seriously. I take my commitment to these men and women. I take my commitment to their families. I take it very serious. It's the reason that we have done everything from having the largest tax cut to military veterans and younger military veterans in Maryland's history, that we have double the amount of leave that they have so they can stop using their PTO on things like military training if they're a state worker. It's the reason that we have made Maryland the first state in the country that now has a pathway to free dental care and health care for members of our National Guard, because I don't know how someone can wear the uniform of this country and have to worry about their dental care. So there's a whole lot, and our military communities know that I ride for them.
Give it up for that.
But knowing that we are getting this type of almost like comedic effort at leadership on our national side about the usage, about the serious and frankly the very sobering usages of our military personnel is deeply disturbing to us.
I would call it an authoritarian effort.
Yeah.
As opposed to a comedic effort. And I was going to ask you, like, when you think about the No Kings protest, what do you think about the framing? And like, is there a responsibility for an elected leader to address like the perceptions of authoritarianism, whether it's real or perceived?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is, and I think people are seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are seeing it in their own real lives, and I think people. And here's the point too, is that if people thought that this was benefiting their life, this would be one thing, right? If people are like, listen, we had to clean things up, and we had to make sure that government worked, and we had to. But you know what? I'm watching my prices go down. I'm watching my education system being better. I'm watching transportation assets being built. I'm watching all this stuff. That'd be one thing. But no one is arguing that. Everybody's just saying, wait a second. So we're seeing all this authoritarian takeover. But what I'm also saying is my energy prices keep going up. We're seeing this takeover. But what I'm also saying is we're now seeing books that are being banned and things that I can't teach and things that I can't lead. We're seeing this takeover. And you know what? All my neighbors are losing.
Now, I got to stop right there to be fair, right? The book banning was happening when Biden was president. Okay, so let's get this all the way transparently clear. I don't understand why people keep separating the bullshit from the facts. The book banning was happening when Joe Biden was president. As in, the president of the United States couldn't stop that shit. It was happening in the States. Cool. One issue. But then you also can have a counter issue to say, well, damn, were they even reading anyway when black kid reading proficiency for 3rd grade is one of the lowest of all races in the country? So we need to do something better, like they're doing in Mississippi, that California is now implementing, which says, you know what? How about we get back to phonics? Because Mississippi's went from maybe 28th, 30th in the country to, I think 50th, 49th, the top 6 in the nation for their children being able to read. And you know what? There are a lot of black kids in Mississippi. There are a lot of kids in Mississippi that'll be benefiting from this. Poor, white, rich, whatever, right? Hispanic, Asian, black, what other races we have? A lot of them, right? But collectively, there needs to be a better conversation around education. And what I don't like that the governor did here, and I'm just being in the middle, being fair and balanced, is it's another talking point. I don't think Trump is an authoritarian. I think that Democrats ran such a horrible election effort, re-election for both Joe Biden or election for Kamala Harris, that it gave this perception to turn people to fuck off. Because you wanted them to believe something, that the economy was good, that they weren't paying high prices, that gas wasn't going up, that food wasn't going up last year. The price of eggs last year. And y'all sat here and bullshitted people, right? And all of a sudden this happens, and it doesn't happen in America. Like Mike Bivens just said in the comments, it's happening all over the world, right? Cool. We're having this issue where the tariffs don't help. I'll give you that. But I'm not saying Trump's an authoritarian. You know, if he was an authoritarian, you know what would happen? The government would not be shut down right now if he was an authoritarian. You know why? Because he did not take 6 Democrats, kidnap their ass, and make them go vote so they could vote on this spending bill to keep the government open. That's why we're on the Breakfast Club today, right? So if we want to be real, he's not an authoritarian. He's not a dictator. He's not a king. He's using the process, but he doesn't have a simple majority in the Senate. Sorry, he doesn't have a simple majority, but he doesn't have the voting majority that 60, the 6 senators needed to open this government back up. That's the reality of what's happening. So it's not an authoritarian shit at all. It's not them, going to ban books. That's not happening at all. That happened under Joe Biden because the federal government didn't give a shit to stop it. We don't want to have that real conversation, right? And because the federal government didn't give a shit to stop these book bans, they've been implemented in certain states. And now all of a sudden we want to sit here and blame Trump for the shit. No, go blame Joe Biden ass for not being strong enough and tell them motherfuckers, yeah, I'm running for re-election. And guess what? I'm also going to taint the fucking country and give it to Donald Trump. And also blame Ruth Bader Ginsburg ass for not getting off the fucking bench and getting reappointed, which gave them, guess what the fuck they have? A supermajority. Louisiana versus Calais may change the makeup of minority elected officials across the country. But they want to tell you this shit. They want to tell you the bullshit about reading, the bullshit about authoritarianism, the bullshit about Trump, as if other shit isn't already happening. That's why I can't sit here and like believe the Democrat bullshit sometimes. I'm not saying I'm going Republican at all. I'd rather go independent and be like, hey, you can have the party shit, because guess what? Both of them are playing y'all ass. The American people are getting played. Remember, on this channel, if it's your first time here, I'm bi. Not bisexual, I'm bipartisan. So even for the racist troll ass motherfuckers and my black people who want to call me Uncle Tom, guess what? All collectively together, I want to make sure that when your nervous ass goes and see a homeboy like my homie Byron Donalds, you don't just go tell him some bullshit and get a photo op and no real policy that you want to get changed in America, right? You need to understand the statutes that you're going to be going to talk about, the impact of those statutes and the changes you need to make to those statutes to actually have a difference. Now, we haven't done that yet on the channel. You know why? Because we haven't hit 10,000 subscribers yet, y'all. When we hit 10,000 subscribers, I'll make sure we go more in depth, but make sure for everyone out there, I think we can hit 7,500 today. I'm almost going to do it like a pastor. My father-in-law's a pastor. I don't have the pastor, like the whatever it is on the, he's on the download. No, I'm not. I just talk with my hands. I don't have like the altar call music ready, but if you want to go ahead and subscribe, go ahead and do, man. And I don't understand why people think I'm gay. I've never been gay. Never had a gay rumor in my entire life. Never, right? But then people come on here and say, oh, he's gay because I talk with my hands, because I'm expressive. Whatever.
Losing their jobs.
Yeah.
And so they're like, so what exactly is this, and what exactly is the point? And it goes back to the thing that, you know, I really believe about Donald Trump, and frankly, one of the challenges we had with the Democratic Party is, you know, Donald Trump was a great vessel for the frustration.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. He could tell you what is wrong. He could tell you who is to blame. He could tell you, you know what, they've screwed this thing up. And oftentimes we were, you know, we, the Democrats, we're kind of sitting there like, well, you know, well, it's not true. Mm-hmm. And things aren't that bad. It's like, guys, like, you have to understand what people are actually feeling right now.
That's right. Put your boots on the ground.
Put your boots on the ground. If you spend your time in communities, you will understand the frustration that people are feeling. So that Trump being the vessel for the frustration made sense. It allowed him to rise inside this place. But I think people are very quickly realizing that he was a vessel for the frustration, but he's not a vehicle for the solution.
Hey, that's the split on that. Now, I got to go be professional. I have people, potential clients that I have to lock in for a meeting for, so I'm going to be respectful of their time. And just like you've been respectful of mine, so I want to thank each and every one of y'all. I got to finish this interview later with Wes Moore. Most likely, I'll be streaming after this call. My wife should be home around 5. So maybe we'll pick this back up after I go do some work for like 30 minutes to an hour or whatever, right? Either way, thank y'all for tapping in today, liking and subscribing. I'm going to chop up some of this content, drive some shorts, have some shorts be a part of this, and also more than anything, just try to put out some better content. But more than anything, while you're here, I just want to say,
all I ask is when you lay your head on that pillow at night, know I gave you everything I had.
I appreciate y'all. We've had over 64,000 people tap on for the stream today. Over 200 of y'all still with us right now. And we've had a good old racist, White King 8877, come on and say, I have no clients, I'm subhuman, go back to Africa. Thank you, White King 887. And just remember, more than anything,
Yes! Yes! Fuck you!
Long titty, no nipple having ass bitch.
make sure y'all have a great day. I'm out. Hey, if you're going to be racist, at least subscribe. Help me get to the 10,000. Help us reach our goal, right? Until then, I'll see y'all later. I'm out, y'all.